Visual Basic has a special object called a font object. A font object has several properties, including ones such as name, size, bold, italic, and underline. You can set each of these properties for the font object and access it through the font property of a control. I will use our form to demonstrate using the label to display various fonts through the font object. The display message button is where this label is being controlled, so I'll go to that through the code window and close the properties window to give us more room. You'll notice at this point that the only line of code for this command message procedure is lblmessage.caption equals have a nice day. If I want the font of this message to be affected, I need to write code before that message is actually displayed. So I'll insert a line in the command message procedure. I still am affecting the label message, so I will reference it in code lblmessage dot, but instead of the caption property, this time I am affecting the font object, which you'll notice is broken up into sub-properties. For example, .font can then affect, for example, the size of the font. So notice the syntax. It's lblmessage.font.size equals, and then whatever size you would like to make this font. For example, I'll choose 18. Now if we choose to, we could simply leave this as it is, and then have a nice day will be displayed in a font size of 18. But let's go ahead and affect another property of the font object. And I will choose italic. Now italic is either a true or false property, so I will simply set it equal to true. Now with that much code written, let's see what that effect that has on our project. Running the project, and the text boxes are not really involved here, so I'll leave them blank. But I'll click on display message, and you'll see that our message, which used to be simply have a nice day in the default font size, is now in a larger font size and is being displayed as an italicized message. I can clear this, of course, and that will still clear the contents of that label. You should experiment with the various properties of the font object by simply typing in the name of an object, .font, and then examining the list of items that you could affect. For example, name. I can change the name font if I know a particular font name. For example, one very commonly used one is Times New Roman. I can include that in quotation marks, and now the font will be displayed in Times New Roman as opposed to the default font. We'll run this one more time. Click on display message. Let's move the form to the middle of the screen, and now you see that it's being displayed in this manner. Again, clear and then exit. You can also, through code, change the color of the forecolor property of a particular control. Note that most controls have both a forecolor and a backcolor property. The forecolor property changes the color of the text, or in the case of labels, the caption, where the backcolor controls the color around the text, that is the background color of that particular control. Visual Basic provides an easy way to specify some of the most used colors. There are 8 color constants that Visual Basic allows you to use very easily. The 8 colors are black, red, green, yellow, blue, magenta, cyan, and white. These are accessed through Visual Basic constants that begin with the lowercase vb. I'll use our label message to demonstrate. lblmessage dot forecolor is the name of the property I'm trying to affect, equals, and I'll choose vb red. Each of the constants is, as I said before, starts with the lowercase letters vb, followed by the specific color name. You should avoid using VB when naming your own objects or variables or constants, as what you might be doing inadvertently is using one of the Visual Basic predefined constants that typically start with the lowercase vb. So only use VB when you are confident that you are accessing something which is already defined by Visual Basic. Now we'll run this project again and see the effect that has had. Now you'll notice that the message being displayed has taken the effect of the color, the font size, the font name, and the font italicized. All this is happening through this code. So through code, we're allowing the user to at least affect the outlook of the form itself. There are many other lines of code we could write here, and we will discover some of those very soon. I would like to use this group of code to demonstrate one other very useful coding technique, and that is known as the with statements. You'll notice that we have 5 lines of code here that all are referencing LBL message. And if you were to do this over and over, this would become rather monotonous and time-consuming. You can specify an object with a with statement, and then all subsequent statements will be relating to that object until you encounter the end with statement. Let me demonstrate. Going up to the beginning of this statement, I'll type with LBL message. Now I do not need LBL message in front of each one of my lines of code. So I'll simply delete these, and it's a good idea to simply indent the contents of each of your with statements just to draw attention to the fact that now these are all being treated as a group. Of course, if I had not written these statements as you saw them originally, then I would not be deleting the LBL message. Now what this code says is with LBL message, do these 5 things to LBL message. You can see that this would be a real time saver if you were affecting multiple properties or multiple methods for the same control. Just be careful that everything that's within the with and in with statements are being affected appropriately. We'll run this one more time just to make sure that that code does indeed work. As you can see, to the user it has no effect, but to the programmer it can be a real time saver.